Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Maybe not so happy. Anyways, we're here at the shop and getting ready to take off and head back to the house. But this engine support bracket that we have here that's holding up this engine because we have the transmission out of it kind of got me to thinking there's lots of different shop equipment that you guys are going to run into in this profession, be it at an independent shop or at a dealership. So we're going to head back to the house and talk about it. All right, let's dive right on into it. So, shop equipment, things that you're going to utilize at a shop, be it independent, dealership, or even tire and lube. We're going to look at a few of the things that I have at my shop, and we're going to look at some stuff in this shop catalog that we received in the mail, which actually kind of helped to drive the discussion topic for this evening. All right, so first things first, whether it's a 2-post lift or a 4-post lift, eventually you're going to have to learn how to use one. You're going to have to learn how to properly rack the car, where the pinch welds are, where the frame rail is, where you can safely hoist the car or truck from, and then of course learning that balancing point. Because of course if the truck weighs a bit more or is extremely long, you're going to lose some center of gravity. That balance is going to be a little bit off. Maybe the rear end tilts down a little bit, or maybe it's tilted up too much depending on how you stack the legs. And then of course you always want to be as safe as you possibly can. They do have suggested lift points for each vehicle. You just got to make sure you flip through the lifts manual. There's a lift manual that'll actually show you where all the lifting points are a car. So that's helpful information. I'll throw some picture down here so you guys can check it out when I was doing the oil change on my Jetta, just to kind of give you an idea of what a pinch weld might be. Another thing that you're going to run into and utilize is going to be an engine hoist, right? So you might run into a situation where you're getting ready to pull an engine and you're going to need an engine hoist in order to lift it up and out of the car. Another one's going to be a transmission jack. Transmission jack you're going to use, especially if you're in the heavy line area. You're going to need to use more than a floor jack here. Now I know that DIY, you can get a floor, one for the floor that you roll underneath, right? If it's on jack stands, drop it and hopefully slide it out. But they do have ones that are built specifically for lifts. Now I've utilized both. One for the floor and one that's geared for having the vehicle way above you and suspended. But you're gonna learn how to use both. So just to kind of give you FYI if you're in the heavy line area. If you're not and you're just starting off as a lube tech, another thing that you're gonna need to learn how to use is the battery charger. How to do it, properly charge a battery, how to properly hook it up. You might even learn how to do parasitic draw testing and so forth, things like that if your shop's teaching you that stuff. If nothing else, you'll be able to get the better idea of how to check the starting and charging system and find out how much the battery's overall health is using some kind of conductant tester, okay? So that's gonna be something that you're gonna end up using. Obviously, you're gonna need some kind of receptacle for oil to go into, so long as you know where the oil goes, because they do have ones that are specific for coolant. You don't wanna get caught using one for coolant on an oil change. I know, but there are separate ones for separate things. Okay, also, we're gonna use Topside Creepers. So if you're working on diesel pickup trucks, 250s, 350s, anything that's got an extreme lift kit to it, that you find yourself kind of, body surfing on top, they do have Topside Creepers, which do come in handy. A shop vise. A shop vise definitely comes in handy. You can see the one that I use here on my toolbox. Everyone else loves to use it too. Okay, we talked about the engine hoist, but we didn't mention the engine stand. You got to have something to be able to put the new engine on, transfer parts over from the old block onto the new block. Something a little bit redundant, but that needs to be mentioned. You're going to end up using a mop at some point, okay? You need to know to use what fluids that you can use it on and which ones you probably shouldn't. I know I'm guilty of using it on a light little oil spill and found myself making more of a mess really than I was cleaning. So if you do end up spilling oil, don't grab the mop bucket. Try to find some of the kitty litter. They have absorption rags that you can use. You can even use sand if you live in the desert. Try to use the mop for things like coolant or possibly fuel. Try not to use it for diesel. Okay, diesel's gonna fall into that oilish kind of category. Try to throw some dirt or kitty litter on it or some kind of an absorbent rag. Rags, you need to know where to put them. You can clearly see we've gone through our fair share of rags this week. We don't typically overfill our bin, but we did today. All right, trash receptacles. Okay, you'll notice that I have one here at the end of my box, but you need to keep up on the trash receptacle. Even if it's not yours and it happens to be in the same area that you're working in, try to keep it empty so that way you can continually put stuff in it. You don't want it overfilling and then falling onto the floor. Okay, it is very, very important to have a solid work surface of some kind. I missed the work surface that I had with the previous cart. I don't miss the previous cart, but I missed the mobile work surface that I had. This is a mobile workstation that I picked up, a week or two ago from our buddy Jeff, and it has been phenomenal. I love using this, not just for heavy line, but for kind of helping out and poking prawn at some electrical wires and doing some minor repairs on other cars. Ones I can just kind of, okay, I'm already working on this car, but I had to jump over here, so I'll just take the mobile cart with me, leave my service cart over here, I'll take the tools that I know I need, and I can just move over without moving everything, right? So outside of having a mobile service cart, it's always nice to have a little mobile workstation as well. You can use it, like I said, for diagnostic work, small repairs, or even heavy line to get underneath vehicles without having to drag your whole service cart underneath. All right, how about the importance of an under hood light? Okay, you saw earlier in the video that I had an under hood light that I was using. Under hood light's very important to have. Okay, you're gonna run into situations where you need it. Scan tool, doesn't matter if it's a pocket reader or the big old tablet size with a Bluetooth technology or what have you. At some point in time, you're gonna have to learn how to use one. Even if you're not a diagnostician, you don't need to know all the ins and outs and what all the live data PIDs mean. You could always self-teach yourself that, okay? Watching YouTube University, stuff like that. But at some point, you're gonna wanna know how to get into these type of scan tools. Learn how to pull codes. Learn how to get into special functions and do special tests and things like that. So forth and so forth. Smoke machine. You're gonna need to learn how to use a smoke machine at some point, especially if you're an independent shop or dealership. Maybe not so much as a lube tire tech, but understand that at some point you're gonna end up using a smoke machine in a shop. A strut tower. Strut towers can be bolted to the wall. They have the spring style that you can kind of wind down that's set on the floor. And then of course you all know the ones that are the danger ones, right? With the little clip-ons that you clip and you compress each side. At some point in time, you're gonna be messing with some strut springs, and there's different styles of strut spring compressors out there. So familiarize yourself with them. Welder. Some shops, not all shops. When I was at the dealership, I didn't have to use my welder a whole hell of a lot, but I did bring it down and I used it on a couple of recalls. And most recently in our last live stream, Beto was asking for an intermediate kind of welder for the same exact reason. There's a recall that he needs to actually weld something with, so he was looking to possibly pick one up. Okay, Borescope. So you're gonna need some kind of Borescope at some point in time, or you're gonna end up using one at some point in time to be able to access certain areas that you couldn't otherwise see with a mirror. Somewhere to get down into some tricky spots, maybe get up and over the top of that fuel tank, look and see if that main seal's leaking fuel, etc. We talked about it briefly earlier in the video. Conductance testers, okay? You're gonna wanna check the state of health of the battery, so you're gonna be using those. 4-post lift. You will eventually use 4-post lift, if not already, okay? And there are 2-post lift, but you will eventually use a 4-post lift, and there is some differences. They also have these rolling jacks that go on the 4-post lift that actually roll into position where you can bring up just the rear end or bring up just the front end, so you're gonna need to learn how to use those. Cheetah blasters from tire guys out there. You're gonna use a cheetah blaster to set that bead. It's gonna be one of those things that happen. Jump packs. You will need to use a jump pack, or at least understand that you're gonna be using one and how to use it, because eventually you're gonna be jump starting cars. Fluid exchange machines. Yes, transmission fluid, coolant. Then there's ones for rear end, etc. They got brake fluid flush machines as well. At some point in time, you will learn how to do fluid exchanges utilizing these machines. Nitro fill. So PDIs, my dealer guys out there, you will learn how to use the nitro fill machine. And it is going to be a piece of shop equipment that you're going to be using. Alright, tire removal machines. How to break the bead down. How to set the bead. How to properly clamp the rim. How to put the tire on. Which lube points do you need to focus on in order to get the tire off the rims. Okay, you're no longer dealing with tubes anymore, gentlemen. It is just a tire, but it's still critical shop equipment that you're going to end up using and learning how to use in time. The stick man. Everyone has seen and used these hopefully by now, and if not, it is a piece of shop equipment that you will be using to either help support one end or the other depending on what corner you're working on. Brake lathe. You will learn how to use a brake lathe at some point in time, at least out here in California, because we still turn rotors and drums, so at some point in time you will be at a shop that has a brake lathe and you'll have to learn how to use that at some point. Don't worry, it's not too incredibly difficult to figure out. A hydraulic press. So you will be using a hydraulic press at some point, whether you're pressing out hub bearings or studs or whatever. You're going to run into a situation where you're going to be using a hydraulic press. Okay, parts wash or solvent machine. They do have solvent machines, like with mineral spirits. You could also have parts washers that you have to close, clamp down, and set a timer for. You will utilize these things at some point in time, be it at a dealership or independent shop. Bead blasters, maybe you might use them at an independent shop or a dealership. We didn't have a bead blaster at our dealership. It's not to say that all dealerships don't use them, okay? I've never seen one at a dealership. But at an independent shop, I've seen them before, and I've seen them with like hot rod shops have them too, to clean things up, try to make it look nice and pretty, right? Last but not least, again, we talked about the work area, work surface area, but you're also going to run into situations where you're using a disassembly table. A little bit different than a workbench or little tiny work surface or mobile work surface. Now you have an actual disassembly bench. So if you're tearing down transmissions and taking them and gutting them out, you're going to have fluid coming out. There's a fluid catch pan that'll all drain into this thing. You pull it out and you dump it out when you're done, clean it up, stab it back, and then just give it a wipe down when you're done. But you'll have a disassembly table so you can put things in order, and that's exactly what that's intended for. So don't start stacking random parts on the transmission rebuild table. That's a good way to piss off your transmission rebuild guy. Alright guys, well I hope you found this video entertaining to say the least. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Share if you want to share. Let me know if I missed anything as far as shop equipment is concerned. Thanks always for watching. Cheers and deuces.